Our guest this hour is from TrueLink Financial. Now, their TrueLink prepaid Visa card. Oh, you say, oh, it's just another credit card. No, it's not. It helps you safeguard your loved ones from scams and unwanted charges without taking away their financial independence. Really, now the TrueLink prepaid Visa card works like a regular Visa card. What's different is that you can prevent purchases at specific stores and types of merchandise using a personalized fraud blocker. We're going to find out more about this. Plus, it alerts you immediately if any suspicious charges do occur. So if you need help resolving these charges, their free customer service is on your side. Okay? That's nice to know. Not on the bank side or the merchant side. It's on your side, the consumer. It takes less than 5 minutes to sign up for a TrueLink account and order the TrueLink Visa card for your loved ones. Now, here to explain how it all works is Kai Stinchcomb. Kai is the CEO of TrueLink Financial. Kai, welcome into Computer America. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, let me ask you this, and I want you to talk more about this TrueLink prepaid Visa card. But who are you targeting with this card? Are you targeting children? Are you targeting senior citizens? Are you targeting, just the average person? What's your target market for this card?
It's primarily seniors and their families. Typically, as seniors age, there are a set of changes that happen where you become more trusting. For example, you become less suspicious of certain types of fraud, and it makes you vulnerable. And there's a whole industry of preying on these seniors, and so that's how we help the family member kind of take control of the situation if you are the family member of a vulnerable senior.
My experience is that the older you get, the more the more suspicious you get. But maybe not. I mean, maybe that's
we call it friendly grandma syndrome.
Friendly grandma syndrome. Okay. All right. So are you saying that this is because seniors are not technologically savvy, or is that unfair? Really, I mean, to have I think when you make a blanket statement about any demographic, it's not really.
Are you saying that all blanket statements are false?
Yes, all blanket statements are false. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. So, you tell me, how technologically savvy are seniors, Kai?
As always, it's a mix. The thing that we're finding actually is that seniors are increasingly technologically savvy, which means that some of the frauds are moving online, actually. So it used to be that you would get telemarketing, for example, or that somebody would, to sell you stuff that you don't need, or that they would call you and convince you to wire money to Nigeria, and now it's the emails to get you to wire to Nigeria, or click ads that are about ways to lose weight or work from home. And so, actually they're targeting seniors online now as much as they're targeting them offline.
Now, one thing to consider, and that is, let's say in the 80s, that's when really computing started to come into their own, the 80s, early 90s. So the age of the people, maybe, they were in their 30s or 40s then, are themselves seniors, but they grew up in a technologically, I don't necessarily savvy, but they certainly are aware of the technology. Is it as time marches on that the seniors are basically the younger people now becoming older, but they're still very familiar with technology? As years go on, isn't that going to continue to happen?
Yeah, there's always a new frontier, right? And so, for example, it used to be that phones were a lot more kind of safe than they are now, right? So, for example, the Nigeria scams by phone, they didn't exist because calling from Nigeria was so expensive. You just couldn't call a bunch of seniors from a phone number in Nigeria and get them to wire money to you, let alone they'd have to go into their bank branch to wire money abroad. And I think, similarly, or junk mail, you used to basically, if you got it in the mail, you could kind of trust what it said. And now there's all of these sort of fake sweepstakes and stuff that you get junk mail about. And so I think it's true that computers were, a different thing 30 years ago than they are now. And people that got used to them 30 years ago where the concern was maybe a virus rather than spyware or spam email or weird phishing attacks.
Right, exactly. Well, Ben, you tried to answer that email that someone wanted you to send money to Nigeria the other day. You were saying.
I've always wanted to, but I've actually fallen for some of the scams. Although the one thing that you'll notice is if you do respond to them, I didn't exactly fall for the obvious. I'm a Nigerian prince and it's locked up and I need $25,000 to get it unlocked. I didn't fall for something that simple, but if you ask enough questions, eventually they start talking themselves in circles, and you can kind of point it out that way. But I mean, even myself, who is admittedly somewhat tech savvy, I have fallen for things over the phone. I have fallen for things via email. Even I've fallen for these. It happens to everyone, not just the elderly or the non-technically inclined.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So, are you saying? I mean, how vulnerable are seniors today to these online scams?
It depends on your age. It's an interesting thing. You think of it as something associated with loss of memory or other sorts of vulnerability. Actually, as a senior, the younger you are, the more likely you are to be scammed. That's an interesting fact.
Well, because they've been around more. They're more savvy, I would think. I mean, they've lived life. They've experienced stuff. That maybe the younger people haven't done that.
Yeah, I think it's almost like a larger attack surface, right? That if you're 60 years old, you might be on a dating site, right? You might be going to the casino, you might have a job, or you might be retired but thinking about doing some working from home. You might be you're just exposed to a ton more. And as you're making more financial decisions for yourself, there's just more ways to slip up. And I think that's true of the internet also, right? That you're just, the way you get scammed online is just you're blazing through stuff and you don't notice the fine print. There's some checkbox that says, you're signing up for ESPN.com and it says, do you want ESPN magazine also? And you forget to uncheck it. And then it arrives and you've been charged $10 for it and you didn't want to.
Right, or they'll have these free antivirus products or anti-malware products, but it'll default to being checked. You want the plus version, which costs money, and you have to make sure that you uncheck it, So that's a specific. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of the specific scams and tactics that crooks use to take advantage of seniors?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things, right? One is there's often something around something going on in the news. So, for example, when the new Healthcare Act was passed, there was a whole bunch of stuff around, now that Obamacare is in effect, you need to re-register for Medicare or Medicaid. So please, read the number off the front of your Medicare card. And you say, I read about that in the news that there's new. The number on the front of your Medicare card is your Social Security number. And you've probably read it off before you realize, what am I doing reading this off? Around the Stimulus Act, there was a similar thing. It was claim your chunk of the stimulus. You have to go to this website, enter your Social Security number again, or maybe you have to pay a deposit. The two big ones we're seeing now are immigration, right? That there's all of this stuff in the news about immigration, and people are saying, hey, there's this new legal status. You have to pay a registration fee in order to, get temporary legal status or deferred prosecution or whatever. And then there's also Ebola stuff going on now in the world of scams, where they're saying, either there's some new vaccine or some new drug, or sometimes it'll be a fake charity that is trying to help people with Ebola. And you're starting to see that on online dating sites. Actually, we had a customer who we protected him from the charge, but he was he had met a new girlfriend. And then all of a sudden she needed money because the area she was in was being affected by Ebola and she needed to get out. And he was like, why can't I send money to this woman? And we're like, that's actually she's not actually your girlfriend. That's not really what it seems like. And he's like, oh my goodness, yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Charity tends to be like one of the big ones. I mean, Katrina, there was a big thing going on during the tsunami, especially the tsunami over in Japan and Taiwan and things like that. places that were overseas and people really didn't know who to give to. And, there were charities popping up left and right that, sounded legit. But, I mean, all you have to do is slap a name on a website and, put some program in there to accept payments. And, you can claim anything you want.
Yeah. We see a lot of lookalike charities also where, somebody who's always given to the Patrolmen's Benevolent Union might suddenly be approached by the Patrolmen's Benefit Union. Stuff like that. And, the story is really that, the other thing, so there's stuff that's always in the news, but the other thing is that they're taking advantage of the thing that's best about, this senior, right? So it's somebody who's generous, who's, open-hearted, and that's why they're being hit up for a charitable contribution, right? It's somebody who cares about their family, and so that's why they're being hit up to, the call that says that your son is in trouble and you need to bail him out of jail or send emergency money abroad. But they're taking advantage of the best in people.
Really? Okay. Well, that got a little chuckle out of me. I mean, your son is in jail in a prison. European prison. You need to bail him out. That can be unnerving.
There are some really good ones. This is super relevant because so what they'll do is they will make friends with a teenager on Facebook, and they'll watch their statuses. And when the person is gone for spring break, they'll have a couple details, right? And so they will call the person's grandparent, who might be listed on Facebook also, and they'll say, hey, this is one of the camp counselors for Jimmy's, summer camp trip. Listen, we can't get in touch with his parents, and maybe they know the parents' names because they're on Facebook also. We can't get in touch with Sandy and, Fred, and so, we're calling you because we need $300 because there's some weird immigration thing. They have him locked up, and, we got to get him out of the country.
Mm.
It's really sophisticated. You get that call at 2 a.m, you're not even thinking straight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a lot of scams going on out there. Are there other ways seniors end up losing money online aside from outright scams? Like maybe online shopping, for example.
Yeah, this is something that so we touched on it when we were talking about the sort of the extra checkbox that you forgot to uncheck, or the thing that automatically involved you in Pro. There's a lot of these things where it's designed to sort of it tries to sell you one thing and then you end up buying another that's a lot more expensive, or you don't realize that it's a subscription, and it ends up being sort of, especially around memory loss. If somebody has a little bit of memory loss, they can end up spending thousands of dollars online, and it's not like they were defrauded. It's just they were sort of entrapped almost. It's entrapment where they're put into a situation where they're making a bad decision that they wouldn't have made otherwise.
And as they can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars that way. Obviously some protections are needed, and we're going to get into a little bit about the what TrueLink does. But let me ask you this: what are some signs that adult children should look for to determine if their elderly parents are losing money?
That's a great question. The first thing is whether there's money gone, right? And that's sort of the obvious one, is if you can check on their online banking and monitor it, then you can tell if there's a problem. And that's really, the thing that you want is that 360-degree view of the family's finances. But it's a tough conversation. People put off having that conversation because nobody wants to talk about money and because nobody wants to talk about aging. And so that conversation that's about money and aging both, it's like, let's save that as long as possible. And if you have it early, it doesn't need to be, that bad, right? That if they were a couple, probably they shared their financial information, and it's just, hey, there should be a couple sets of eyes on the road always, no matter who you are or how old you are. So that's one thing. But then there's also watching for their behavior. Do they have new friends? Sometimes new friends are, if they have a relationship that seems, that their caregiver, if you have a paid caregiver for them, that seems suddenly like they're trying to be friends rather than a paid caregiver, or the same with the bookkeeper, for example. If you see a family member that's getting, maybe moving closer and seems to be behaving in a controlling way toward their parents or to an elderly relative, that's something to watch out for. And then there's, just watching how they're spending their money. So if they're saying that they can't afford stuff, they're dropping clues in conversation. Or sometimes you'll actually get a call from a bill collector, and in a lot of cases, that's the first thing our customers ended up hearing that made them aware of the problem, was that somebody called and said, "Hey, do you know how we can contact this person? There's an unpaid bill."
Wow. But there's also that resistance from people who are kind of reluctant to turn over their financial information to their children, or to family, because
come on, Greg.
Yeah, you're never getting it. I mean, isn't it? I mean, it's like it's one of the many measurements we have of independence. I mean, it's like when you take away a person's driver's license, that's crippling, to the average to a person. I mean,
right.
Although it's not quite, I don't think it's as bad as with money. Still, I mean, to take away that, or I don't know necessarily if you're taking it away, but I think any movement toward, hey, Mom, Dad, let me look at your bank statements and let me handle it for you. I think can meet with some resistance. At least
I'm glad you mentioned the driver's license, because it really is a great analogy, actually, that you think about a car. You push down the gas pedal and it'll go the direction it's pointed as fast as it can, right? And the same thing is true with a checkbook, right? You sign, you write in a number, however big that number is. If you have that much money, it's gone. And so if you have a vision impairment, driving becomes unsafe, right? And I think often there are similar forms of impairment that can make a checkbook unsafe. But the point is, you're not actually taking away the checkbook. The point of this information is that it's a safety feature. So it's not like you're trying to take away the car keys or the driver's license. It's about putting in airbags, right? What you want is a situation where you have extra safety features. And if I said, hey, you should have a car with airbags, I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm not saying you're a bad driver. I'm not trying to control where you take your car, right? It's the same as, antivirus on your computer doesn't tell you which software to run, or a home security system doesn't tell you who to let into your home. Email filters don't tell you who you can and can't email. It's just a safety feature so that if you are making a mistake, you don't have to suffer the consequences.
All right, and that kind of leads us into what you're doing over at TrueLink Financial, and with your TrueLink prepaid Visa card, and the purpose of this again is to help people, maybe adult children, to protecting their elderly parents from losing money, or the seniors themselves who are maybe susceptible to this. How does this TrueLink prepaid Visa card help you to safeguard your loved ones from scams and wanted changes? How do they do that? Without taking away their financial independence. It's important to mention that.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are in that situation of vulnerability, or you're having trouble managing money, or you're being taken in, maybe you've had an example of this. The thing that we do is allow you to configure a credit card, a Visa card. So you're putting this card in your parents' hands instead of their traditional Visa card, and that card will pay for anything, right? So if you are getting scammed on the phone, if you are buying telemarketing stuff with hidden charges, if you are, getting talked out of your life savings by one telemarketer after another, we can prevent those dollars from going out the door, and we just block the charges. And so the point is, it's like airbags in that you can spend the money on the things you need without it going to waste and losing your financial independence because you've spent too much money. Does that make sense? I don't know if I said that well.
Yeah, you did. But I mean, how do you go about doing that? I mean, I've got this TrueLink prepaid Visa card, okay, and I'm going to go online and I'm going to go to Amazon and I'm going to purchase, I don't know, some clothing or something, something I need, or maybe a DVD or something. And And how is it any different than using a standard Visa card?
So the point is, we set up individual configurations for each person. And it's very easy, actually, to configure because the problems that we see, every case is different, but we've seen a lot of stuff. And so maybe you have a telemarketing problem, right? And there's just a checkbox that says no purchases for telemarketers allowed. And then in that case, we stop all telemarketing calls from resulting in a financial loss. Or maybe you say no charitable contributions over $25. Go ahead.
Yeah, but what let's say a mom likes to go online, and purchase things from QVC or likes to do that, and now all of a sudden, okay, we're going to use this card, and she tries to make a purchase and says, sorry, we can't do that. Isn't that be frustrating?
Is this something that you want to come in like retroactively, or because I would assume just going for someone who hasn't made any mistakes in the past and saying, hey, we're going to start monitoring what you're not monitoring, but limiting what you can do. I mean, or is this something that you kind of come in after the fact, after things have happened?
So it's a mix. The point is it's fully custom, right? So there's a way to configure it for every need. For some people, it's really just send a text message for every purchase over $1,000. You are fully in control of your finances, and it's just if there's a lot of money suddenly going out the door, everybody should know what it is. Maybe it was your card number was stolen and you want to know about it right away. Maybe it's just, it was time to get new hearing aids. But you just kind of want multiple sets of eyes. Down to a situation where, this is the situation that my grandmother was in, where she had just kind of lost track of her charitable giving. She was, over the course of her life, she was a charitable person. But she would give, $50 a month to charity. She's a retired school teacher. And as she started to experience memory loss, she started giving away $50 a day to charity just because she didn't remember that she'd given it away yesterday. And that was just much more money than she had. And so, the point was that we wanted to restrict the amount of money that was being given away to charities so that she could still have her money to spend on the things she wanted.
Okay, and that makes sense. I mean, I certainly can see how that would work. But that's a specific, weakness, I guess, with grandma. But what if grandma, doesn't necessarily have any weaknesses, and she's, seems to be fairly financially cognizant? She could still use the card and just have those mechanisms in place if you ever need to do them?
Yeah. So in other words, you could set it up so that it's just, so that it's the lightest touch possible. Maybe it's just block things that are frequently reported as scams.
Right.
So in other words, it's not a heavy-handed restriction.
Right.
And that works also. So the point is, we're not trying to play judge and jury. We're not trying to tell you what your mom should be spending her money on or not. The point is, if you have a situation where you'd like to know more about what the money is going toward,
sure,
then we can offer you that tool. And it might be just more information, or it might be, heavier-handed controls.
All right. I'll tell you what. We're at the bottom of the hour break here, Kai, and we're going to take a break. But when we come back, I want to ask you, can you use the TrueLink card, let's say, for other people, like, kids, or for allowances, that type of thing? And we'll get on to that when we come back, okay?
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Thank you, Marty Winston, for that. 33 minutes past the hour, and we are here with Kai here from TrueLink Financial, and we're talking all about this card that lets you kind of put preferences on spending and actually one of the great features that you kind of just mentioned there at the very end was if you don't want to have any immediate restrictions, you can always have restrictions on things like that are frequently seen as scams, because even if they're very careful, they're still very aware of themselves. No one is safe from scammers. You can't always screen 100% of them out. So having just a second line of protection, really helps. So we have a question here. Could this card be used for other people, such as children, for their allowances? Because children can suffer from the same thing. Admittedly, they're not 18, so they can't order what they see off TV. But I mean, it's they can still
do some damage.
See something and do the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
Far be it from me to tell people don't use my product. But the thing that we found is that if you have a teenager and they're making financial mistakes, basically you want to do the parenting, right? And so, you probably just want to set a low credit limit, or get any other prepaid card, and then just kind of review the statements from time to time and tell your teenager, hey, look, I saw you spent your money on this. Doesn't look like you managed your money that well because you spent it all at the start of the month and now you don't have as much anymore. Whereas, if your mom has that problem, you actually don't want to do that parenting. You don't want to be calling her every day saying, hey, it looks like you're giving money to charity that you don't have and you're not going to be able to afford your groceries. And she says, oh, gosh, I don't remember doing that. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. That's a whole different case. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the point is, we really did design it just for seniors. And, if you want it for a teenager, by all means, go ahead. But we really the point is seniors are just different from anybody else, and there's a unique set of challenges.
And you're certainly addressing them. Now you're calling this the TrueLink prepaid Visa card, so that means it's sort of like, is it like a debit card, or if not, I'm trying to
exactly.
What is it like? It's like
a debit. So in other words, it's not a credit card. There's no loan, there's no interest, and yet it's not tied directly to your bank account. And so, the thing is, you often don't want the debit card that just can empty out your bank account entirely. So the point is, you might set it up to move $1,000 out of the checking account on the first of every month, and then that's the limit of how much it can spend.
I see. It's becoming much more clear now, and I see how, and I can see definitely how that would work. So also it gives you a lot more flexibility in controlling how the money is being spent. I mean, you've put these mechanisms into that, which you really can't do with a debit card. I mean, debit card is a debit card. You spend it all, and that's it, and nobody tells you can't do that.
Exactly.
It's still like a debit card, but there are things you can do with it to, and I'll even think with my with a debit card, even alert. I know with a credit card, when someone it gets flagged. I remember one time I went to a store which I had never really frequented before, and I went and made a purchase, and my phone rang, and it was the credit card company. Says, Mr. Crossman, we have a notification that that someone's at such and such a store getting ready to make this purchase. Are you that person? And I was very impressed. I mean, I was surprised, but I was very pleased to get that phone call. But talk about a connected society. But I can see how this would allow you to do that. I mean, you still will do that, right? If you go to a specific store or something like that, or any suspicious charges, you'll alert the person.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a different situation when if your card is lost or stolen, it's used without your authorization. Mm-hmm. Any debit card or credit card that has a Visa or MasterCard logo, you can get your money back. You are protected as a consumer against unauthorized use of your credit card. So that's the good news. Everybody has that, and they are automatically detecting unauthorized use of your card for that reason. Basically, it's because the bank is on the hook if your card is stolen, and so they're watching for that. The thing that the bank is not protecting you from is unwanted spending or scammy spending, right? So if you say, hey, I just got charged for, $100 worth of, potted plant, Miracle-Gro, and I didn't use my credit card for that, then they'll give you your money back. But if you say, I just got charged for all of these Miracle products on TV, and I don't even want them, they'll say, well, have you thought about returning it? You shouldn't spend your money on things that you don't want. But that's the place where we're able to step in, is if there's that sort of mistake situation, we can help you prevent that mistake before it happens.
Now, you're TrueLink Financial, so you're not really a bank per se. You're a private organization that issues this card, and in cooperation with the Visa, you have some sort of association to them, or
yeah, exactly.
So let me ask you: what kind of fees are associated or charges are associated with getting a TrueLink prepaid Visa card?
We charge a $10 a month fee for the protection service.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That sounds good. $10 a month, and that's the only fee. I mean, there's no charge for the card itself or anything like that. You get,
there are a few other things. There's like if you do a balance check at an international ATM, there are a couple things where there are fees charged to us by Visa or by the international ATM or whatever that we pass on. But 90% of our customers don't see another fee in a typical month.
Can you take this card and go to a bank ATM and withdraw cash with it? Or is that one of the safeguards?
Yes. Like I said, so yes, and yes, it is configurable. So you can say, free fire, take out money from an ATM. You can say, let's send a text message if you're at the ATM. You can say, let's limit ATMs to, $40, $50. You can say, how about no ATMs, but you can get cash back at the Whole Foods or the Safeway. Or you can say, no ATMs and no cash back, but you can go into a bank teller and get cash. And you can control those individually.
That's interesting. Now, do you control those by calling up, or is there a website that you can check these little things off? I mean, how do you configure the card?
Either one. You can call and make changes to your settings, but all of those you can do from the website.
I like the fact that you do it from a website. You get that interaction. That is very nice. I don't think I've ever seen or heard of a card that you can do that like that. And now, obviously, if you go to an ATM from a bank, I assume there's an ATM charge for the use of the ATM.
If they charge for an ATM, then yeah, but we don't charge for ATM usage.
Okay, so
let me actually just say you should glance at the fees and charges. It's all disclosed on the website really, really clearly. I don't want to say something and then have to go back and forth.
No,
because often there are ATM fees from third parties, and those sometimes we do pass on.
Okay, so how does one get a TrueLink prepaid Visa card? How do you apply for it?
Easy as pie. You go to TrueLinkFinancial.com, and it should take less than a minute. Well, less than 5 minutes.
Right. You got okay. And again, if you're listening to the show and you want that link, just go to our homepage at ComputerAmerica.com. Click on our show notes page. You'll see today's show, October the 30th, and you'll see the first hour. TrueLink Financial is here. Kai is with us, and the TrueLink Financial is actually a hyperlink. Just click on it, and it'll actually take you to the TrueLinkFinancial.com website, so you can see this for yourself. This might prove to be something that that you're really looking for. If you have senior parents, or you just don't want to take the purse strings away from them completely, but you're looking for a nice balance, so they're comfortable with it, something that you're comfortable with. I think this is an excellent solution to that problem. And again, you can check it out at their website, TrueLinkFinancial.com, or go to our show notes page at ComputerAmerica.com. Kai, before we say good evening, good night to you, is anything else you want to let our listeners know about the card that we might not say?
Yeah, let me just say one more thing, because I always before saying good night, the thing that I always want to say is that people always feel very ashamed if they've been a victim of fraud, like they did something dumb. And actually, about 40% of seniors have been affected by one sort of fraud or another in the last 5 years. It's really an astronomical number, and it happens to almost everyone. And so the point is, you should let people know what's going on so that they can protect themselves. Let your friends know. Let your family know. It's not bad, and it doesn't make you dumb.
Okay. Nicely said. All right, Kai. Well, listen, again, thanks so much for being with us here tonight. Again, it's the TrueLink Financial, or the TrueLink prepaid Visa card. You can check it out at the website and see if this is something that's right for you. And look, thanks again for being with us here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
All right. You take care. You have a good evening. Good night.
Good night.
You also.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, there you go. All right. So, again, you can see it at the TrueLinkFinancial.com website, and check it out for yourself. You've got some senior parents or senior citizen that that's in your life, and you want to see if you can help, and without being too pushy, and just finding a gentle way to help them out. This certainly might be hold an answer for you. Okay.
Very touchy subject, but I mean,
yeah,
technology makes everything better. So I think this is a good solution to not just say you can't be trusted anymore. Instead,
yeah,
they still get freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And don't take the driver's license away. As he said, don't take their financial freedom away. And this might be a good intermediate step for you to do.